Hello, it is Michelle, and I am here with a book haul. Over the past 5 to 6 weeks, I have downloaded some books, picked up some books at local bookstores, and gotten in a bookoutlet.com order, and so I'm going to share all of those books with you. At a used bookstore, I picked up Dash and Lily's Book of Dares. This looks like a good, cozy, kind of YA romance. Someone had recommended it as a great book to read around Christmas time, and when I saw it in the store, it had to come home with me. Then I picked up Falling Kingdoms at a not used bookstore. This is the first book in the trilogy, and I know the third book is coming out soon, so probably in January I'll look at starting this trilogy. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I know it says that it involves treachery, betrayal, and forbidden love. And when is that combination ever not good? So I heard great things about the series, so hopefully I'll like that one. Next up is a book I have not heard much about at all. It is called Exquisite Captive by Heather Demetrios. And this book follows a young lady who is a genie, and she is tied to an awful human master who is somebody important in Hollywood. I'm not exactly sure much about him. She has one chance to be freed, and that is one of her genie enemies. But he has a price, of course, for freeing her. But she really wants to be freed so that she can save her brother, who is apparently imprisoned somewhere or something. So, could be interesting. Hope to check it out soon. Next up, How It Went Down by Kekla Magoon. And this one caught my eye because it is pretty relevant to a pretty hot topic in the media over the last few months. And in this story, it's in the inner city, and a white man ends up shooting a young black man, and there's lots of controversy over whether the young man was in a gang, whether he had robbed a store, whether he had a weapon, all kinds of things. And so this book breaks the story down into different people who were involved's perspective. And so look forward to hearing about this one in my November wrap-up, because I have already completed that book. Then lastly, from local bookstores, I picked up Blackfin Sky by Kat Ellis. This says on the front, secrets can be buried, but not if the truth still lives. And the thing that got me interested in this book is that there's a young lady. She lives in a strange town, whatever that means. But everyone thinks she was missing for 3 months. But she feels like life has gone on as usual for those 3 months. Somehow there's a weird circus involved. So I was pretty intrigued because I can't really guess where that story is going to go, and so I wanted to find out. Then I have downloaded some books to my Kindle to read this month. First was The Girl with All the Gifts, and I picked this up on November 1st because one of my Goodreads groups was reading it. I'm very glad that I did. The author is M.R. Carey, and all you know at the beginning is there's this little girl, and every morning soldiers come into her cell and point a gun at her, strap her into a wheelchair, arms, legs, even her neck, so that she can't move, and they wheel her into a classroom. And so from the start, it's like, what in the world is going on here? I've already finished this book, so in my November wrap-up, you will hear what I thought of that book. Next, I downloaded a free digital copy of a book coming out in January, and this is through netgalley.com. It's called All the Bright Places. The author is Jennifer Niven, and it follows two young people, a boy and a girl, and they both find themselves in the same spot contemplating suicide. And so then a relationship builds from there, and you get to see how the story plays out. I have already devoured that book, and so you can hear in my November wrap-up what I thought of it. Then I downloaded a piece of adult fiction. It's not too common for me, but I do sometimes. It's not new adult or anything, it's just adult fiction. The author is Japanese, so I'm going to try to get his name right. Murakami Haruki, I think is how you pronounce it. And the book is The Colorless Tsukuru Tazaki and His Years of Pilgrimage. I know I'm terrible at pronouncing Japanese names. Sorry about that. I've already finished this book as well, so you can look forward to hearing about that one in my November wrap-up. And the last book I have downloaded recently is Zero Boxer by Fonda Lee. And this is another ARC, so it's an advanced reader's copy. I got it digitally, of course. And also through NetGalley. This book doesn't come out till April, though, so I will probably hold off reading it until January or February. But it sounds pretty cool. It follows a young man and he is a prize fighter, which is not something I would normally be too attracted to. I'm not super big on fighting and violence in my books, but this takes place in space, and so it's zero gravity, and I immediately thought of like a bunch of cool things you could do with fighting in zero gravity, and thought, okay, I'm sure the author is much better at this than I am, so I'm interested to see kind of how the fight scenes play out, which is weird for me, but hey, reading diverse, right? Reading diverse. So look forward to that one in a future wrap up to see what I thought of it. Then I have recently placed an order on bookoutlet.com, and these are the books that I have not reviewed or hauled yet from it. I don't think I've hauled any of them. First is Side Effects May Vary by Julie Murphy. I first heard about this book from Witty Novels. She went to a signing, met the author, thought she was really cool, and then she read the book when it came out back in spring, I think it was, like April-ish. It essentially follows a teenager who has a terminal illness, and she has a list of tasks she wants to complete before she dies, and they're not all good. Some of them are laced with revenge or meanness, and then all of a sudden she's cured, and she no longer has the protection of not having to deal with the ramifications of the things she has done. So that one could be a pretty interesting read. Next up, Au revoir, Crazy European Chick by Joe Schreiber. I saw someone haul this a long time ago or review it. I think it was haul because I don't know much about it. But essentially, I believe it follows a family from the U.S. who has a teenage boy. They take on a foreign exchange student who is a girl, and he suspects that she is some kind of assassin. And so he starts following with her and hanging out with her, and I don't know. Sounds like it could be kind of a crazy fun story. So, assassination is fun. What am I becoming? Okay, I don't know. Anyway, what does that say about me? Next, by Catherine Ryan Hyde. She, of course, is the author of Pay It Forward. I've never read that book, but I have read 2 or 3 other books by her and love them all. This is The Year of My Miraculous Reappearance. And this story follows Cindy, and she is, I'm guessing, around 12. She has a little brother named Bill, and she pretty much takes care of him because their mother is an alcoholic. And she knows she's a better parent to him than their mother, and she will never let him down. And then things start to get tough, and it sounds like maybe she turns to the bottle, so it says never say never. So I'm sure that Catherine Ryan Hyde has written this beautifully and has treated the topic tenderly. Really enjoyed everything I've ever read by her, so looking forward to getting into this one at some point. Next up, by Laura Roussel, and I have read a book by her before called The Queen of Water. This one is called Red Glass. And I believe it is a story of a family in America who ends up harboring an illegal immigrant child from across the border in Mexico, I think. So I'm not sure on the details, but I'm sure it is beautifully written because Queen of Water was. Looking forward to that one at some point as well. Another realistic fiction, or maybe historical fiction, depending on how you look at it. Child of the Mountains. Now this one's set in the late 1950s in the Appalachian Mountains, and there's a very poor family. It consists of the young lady, her mother, grandmother, and her brother who has cystic fibrosis. Well, the grandmother dies, the brother dies, so it's just the girl and mom, and then mom is falsely imprisoned, so she has to go live with an aunt and uncle. There's some kind of secret involved, and it sounds like she's pretty desperate to get her mom exonerated and go back to living with mom instead of aunt and uncle, so could be an interesting read. Then, by Patrick Ness, I picked up The Crane Wife, and I read his book, A Monster Calls, that he wrote kind of in conjunction with Siobhan Dowd, and really enjoyed the writing style of it, so wanted to pick up his version of this folktale. And lastly, from that bookoutlet.com order, this is probably the one I'm looking forward to the most. This is called This Song Will Save Your Life. The author is Layla Sales. This follows a teenage girl who is very good at setting goals and achieving them. And the one she has never been able to achieve is becoming popular or cool. She's 15 years old. And then one night she ends up in some kind of a dance club and realizes she has a talent for being a DJ. And inside the club, she is cool. Outside the club, not so much. And so she has to struggle with kind of marrying those two versions of herself together. So sounds like it could be a cute read. That is all of the books in this book haul. Thank you so much for watching, and happy reading.